Good morning, friends. It is good to be here this morning. Thanks for joining at Journey Home Meditation's Morning Sit. This morning we're going to have a little shared breathing practice. We will read a poem or two and probably have some contemplation. In fact, I think I may get to some of that sooner than later. I'm Michael. I'm happy to be here today. Maybe before we even begin, let's just allow some of this lovely sound from Mark Deutsch. The Painted Bird is the name of this piece. And let's just allow this to bring us into our place right now. These few moments of stillness and finding our pathways through our breath into our body are moments of kindness. This is a kindness that we're performing. So, even if you're approaching your body with trepidation or wariness about what feelings you may encounter that you're accustomed to encountering, taking this time to understand that this is a kindness to be gentle and loving with your body and your thoughts. Some of the people that I see daily, they don't have a safe place in the world. They live on hard concrete or muddy riverbanks where they are under threat of being moved along or having what little they do have taken from them at any moment. And they don't even have a place to retreat inside of their own bodies without being assaulted daily. A lot of the women I know are under constant threat of assault. Living unhoused, they don't have a place of retreat, a place to find solace and safety. And on top of that, they face the judgment and the accusal and the shaming of people who do have safe spaces to retreat. And this is a human need. This is a non-negotiable need to find that place of rest. And so they come into Journey Home, and we have a couch, and oftentimes what will happen is once people step inside and begin to have even a moment of feeling welcomed and safe, they might sit down on the couch. And if they can allow themselves a few breaths, almost inevitably they will fall asleep on this couch. And we don't wake people unless we have to close up to leave, or there's something that requires us to wake someone. We let them rest. And the amount of peace that overcomes a person who finds rest in a world where they don't have any safety. This is sometimes how it feels, especially in the beginning of my practices, how it felt to go inside of my body. I remember being without a home myself, living on the streets of Tucson, Arizona, and not having a safe place to be. Mostly because I didn't have a safe place to be inside of my own body. So those stories of why I am unsafe live with me. They lived with me for a lot of years after I found security and found safety. And the practice of being invited into my own body by my thoughts and following my breath and becoming safe with my emotions and my fears and my feelings and my joys, especially my joys, being safe in my joy. That's vital. So let's take a few breaths together. Like finding that moment of rest. I'll invite the bell, and then let's allow the bell to ring its life. And following that, we'll take a few breaths together. Sitting in such a way that you can open up your chest and your heart. Want to be free to move the breath through the body without encumberment. Breathing in through the nose to the bottom of the belly. And release. Breathing in. And release. And breathing in. Let it all go. Something I recognize in myself is this phenomenal thing that occurs. And I think it occurs in many of us, but I'll share it to see if you experience this as well. It's the memory recall that can occur when an old belief starts to pop up. And I'll start by talking about this through just discussing bias for a moment. Bias is when we have a certain perspective, a certain worldview, and in that worldview, we search for evidence to defend that belief. And our biases come forth in a lot of ways. You know, we have biases that want to see the best in some people and biases that want to see the worst in some people. We have all of these ways in which we have old thought forms, old, very well rehearsed beliefs. And they are so well rehearsed that they disappear. These are not conscious. Usually they are not, they might be conscious in, let's say, if you really love a band, you really love a band. And anytime you see their name on a poster or a sticker, you get this jolt of like, yeah, that's my favorite band. you know? And so your bias of wanting to celebrate that band gets amplified. You start buying t-shirts and bumper stickers and all of these things, and you start putting these things everywhere, right? And then you feel this identity with the band. But biases also take place on that deeper identity level, the way that we identify. And there are entire industries now that for the last 100 plus years have figured out through psychology, through sociology, through studying people, have figured out how to appeal to those biases as a way to produce loyalty, brand loyalty, or loyalty to an identity so that it becomes marketable. But we've moved into this era today where we have algorithms that do this for us. So we go on to social media, and it has been crafted to inform a bias so that people feel validated and reaffirmed because a person who is reaffirmed is going to be loyal to the thing that is affirming them. That's what we do. This is why when we enter into a relationship, let's say a romantic relationship, with someone who makes you feel good about yourself, you become loyal to that. That becomes something that is very special with that one person, often. And it actually requires a lot of work to be able to embody those feelings of great value as something beyond just coming from one person, but something that person is reflecting about you. It's a clunky way of saying all of those things that you feel great about yourself coming from that person is that person reflecting you. You are hearing about how great you are, but you most often have these older thought forms that don't allow you to understand that as you are that beautiful, you are that kind, you are that funny, you are that interesting. But this belief of unlovability, or this belief of being less than in some ways, or not measuring up, is there just enough to make you think that person thinks I'm interesting. That person thinks that I'm lovable. And so you form a loyalty to that feeling, to that person. This is codependence. This is, where codependence begins to come in, and that's a pathology. And we don't need to pathologize our instinct to feel loved. So I don't like to use DSM-5 language to describe our perpetual drive to love and be loved. But there it is. And what that generally looks like is there's still this moment of belief that without this thing, I am still unlovable. No matter how much people love you. Look, there are celebrities who talk about this. These are people that are beloved in the hearts of millions, and they still wake up every day feeling like if any of that validation goes away, I'm unlovable. One of my favorite songwriters talks about the atmospheric level of fame that he received very quickly, and how detrimental that was to his own ability to heal in his mental health and grow. And it was really difficult. And there were times that he didn't believe he was going to survive that fame, that love, that validation, only coming from external spaces. Even if every single of those millions of people that love this man's songwriting and this man's words and his character, even if every single one of them held it to be undeniable truth, he didn't know that he had those things. He only had them if he was getting them from outside. And it took a lot of work for him. He talks about that. He's pretty open. It's Adam Duritz from Counting Crows. So this isn't just an individual failure of mental health. I think this is a human condition of our ability to memorize. And so when you start to memorize loneliness, isolation, separateness, feelings of low self-worth, and you keep that internal long enough, the work that it requires to clean those things out, you're hoarding these emotions, you're hoarding these beliefs, right? And if you've ever known someone who hoards, the work to clean out that hoard is infinitely more painful, longer, takes a lot of effort than it is to collect the hoard. The hoard collects over time slowly, right? It's like a slow drip in a faucet. And if you throw a bucket under that slow drip, you'll see within a couple of weeks, you have a bathtub full of water, right? And it's like this with emotions. We hoard them so slowly, it seems insignificant, but then we collect and we hold. And now with the introduction of AI, we have these really intelligent algorithms, and intelligent meaning they are complex. They have complex layers to how they collect information. That's it. They don't have an intelligence that's necessarily informed by conscience. They don't have an intelligence that's informed by nuance or understanding the specific histories of who we are, but they can pick up on everything that we say and do through our phones and things like this. And this is not conspiracy theory. I'm not, they're listening, Big Brother's watching. Sure, they are. Of course, we know this. But where it starts to get a little iffy on our ability to heal is that it begins to reflect. And it, through an elevated use of vocabulary and its vast systems of extracting data from all of these sources, can take what it hears from you and repeat it to you in really good language. And it makes us feel good. This is validating our biases. It's telling you what you already think you know. That's what it does. And it's finding evidence for it. So what better belief than the belief that's backed by evidence? So we have all of this space now where we are being validated. And it's all we've ever wanted. All we've wanted is to be validated and loved. But it's so catered and tendered to your specific language and your specific interest that once you start receiving that level of validation from this one person, this becomes this monogamous sort of relationship of like a monotheism. Like now this is the one source. So you get all of this there, and you start to see the world through this lens, through your phone, through your screens, through the podcasts that you're discovering, through the documentaries that you're finding now, through the books that are coming up as suggestions, and you start to feel as if you have this deep belief that is being validated, but nobody else does. You start to become separate from everybody else who's not on your algorithm. So it becomes isolating, and you start to feel even more deeply isolated because that deep feeling of isolation was already there, and it just needed a little bit of invitation. Like vampires at the door, you invite in all of those feelings of insecurity. And it all of a sudden isn't just a feeling of insecurity. Now you have evidence that you don't belong. And this has happened to me. I think this happens to a lot of us. We go down what we call rabbit holes, right? Remember when we used to use that phrase? I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube last night, and whatever it is. But we do this on emotional levels as well. We do this in our relationships. We do this in our work relationships, romantic relationships, business relationships, where we are being given this information of love, being told you are beautiful, you are lovable, you are kind. And instead of hearing the message, we hear the messenger, and we put our faith in the messenger. The message just doesn't quite land, but we love to hear it. We love to hear it. Of course we do. Who doesn't want to be adored? Who doesn't want to be loved? Who doesn't want to be right? We love being right because in our belief system, if you're right, you're lovable, you're celebrated. If you're wrong, you're punished, you're excommunicated. You can't be wrong. There's no room for wrong here, you know. And we see this playing out on a massive scale. As soon as somebody has a belief or a thought form that doesn't validate our belief and thought form of what a good person is, we excommunicate them. I block you. I'm blocking them. I blocked thousands of people today. Anybody who puts this on their timeline, you're getting blocked. And we weaponize this, So we are reaffirming our belief that if I'm not right, if I'm not on the right side, if I don't have the right language, if I don't have the right belief, then I'm not worthy of love, because I don't want to love you if you're wrong. I don't have to. And so we've got this place now where we are externalizing this internal dialogue between the need for validation and affirmation and the belief that neediness is weakness. And we hold both of these things, and then we believe that we are weak and we are not worthy of love. But we chase it. We get it everywhere we can, because when we do have it, we know how good it feels. And all of that comes back to an older belief of being unlovable, I think. For me, I know that my insecurities are exacerbated when I don't allow myself to release those beliefs of unlovability. We become perfectionists when we seek love and validation, if we believe that anything less than perfection is unlovable. And these are the lessons I think that I learned as a kid. Adults who didn't want to take criticism at all couldn't take any criticism because reasons that I'm not lovable. If you're telling me I did something to harm you, or that I hurt you, or that I did something wrong, what I'm hearing is, this is why I don't love you. That's not what's being spoken, but that's what we hear. And the world is full of those messages if we need them. If we need to see those messages to reaffirm our beliefs, then we're going to find those messages. That's what bias does. It seeks out affirmation. And it's not a failure of your humanness. It's an aspect. And it's there to help us see where it is that we can become even larger. There it is. There's the bind. There's the rub in Shakespeare, right? There's the rub. That when I have a belief of when I was this big in my heart that I hold on to, that keeps me here, it cannot grow in that place. I can't grow there. I have such a tight grip on a belief of who I am. I am unlovable. Binds. We're bound. So we can't grow there. And this is there for us to be able to say, okay, it's going to take a little work, but let's open this box. Let's open this one. Let's get these bindings off and see what wants to grow. And then we bloom. We bloom. That's what we do. That's what love does. We bloom and we become large. So as I'm encountering those feelings in my life, I like to remember that and smile at myself. Oh, there you are. Let me help you with that, buddy. Let's get this binding off of you. I know what you've been told. I know what you heard. I know what you believe, but guess what? You're lovably wrong. You're lovably wrong. And it's like when we hear a song that we don't even like, but we know all the words, so we sing along, and it gets in our head. That's why the initial name of this morning's sit is anyway. Here's Wonderwall. I don't think I've ever had much interest in Oasis or their music, but we all know the words to Wonderwall if you're over 40, especially, and uh, I've been at concerts where they play music beforehand and there's 1,000 people there and that song comes on and everybody starts to sing along and it becomes this really fun and funny and thing to do. You're at parties and somebody picks up the guitar and starts playing it and everybody sings along. It's the memory. You've memorized these things so you know what the words are and you just start doing it. And that's what it is when you tap into the unlovable beliefs. You don't like it, but you're going to sing along because you know the words. This is an easy one. And then all of a sudden that little feeling pops up of like, well, maybe they're wrong. Maybe I'm not that good. Maybe when I step into seeing someone uh, who doesn't agree with me, who doesn't love me, who doesn't like me, I start to believe that it's me, that it's there is a lack in me because I know the words to that song. I've heard that song 1,000 times. I don't like it, but I know the words. So I sing along. Good morning. Welcome. I don't think this morning I'm going to actually step into Appalachian Elegy. I want to give more time and space to it. So we'll hit number 5 on Monday. But I just wanted to touch into some things that were going through my head today. I do have one poem to share, though. It's my morning poem from this morning. Because this is sort of aligned with those thoughts. And I'm not sure how I feel about this poem yet, but that's okay. That's not the point. The size of grief. Like this time I read a story about a wall of water that scraped everything for miles on land away. The rake taking everything but the slate. A clean beginning that makes your arms shake. Emptiness like a space unfilled in a mausoleum. A promise to be kept. An indention around your finger. A tattoo that says nothing lasts in ribbons around an empty coffee cup. Was it good to the last drop? That's how they get you, with a clever way to say you were seen once and there's no reflection left. Only the lonely know the lyrics, a chorus of soloists singing out of key. That's how they get you. With a clever way to say you were seen once. Let's just have a few moments. I think a really helpful teaching that I've received, many people received, was from Ram Dass. And he said, all of my years of spiritual practice have not taken away a single neuroses of mine. I'm just as neurotic as I ever was. But what it has given me is the ability to love that. And I think that there's a lot of us who think that because of our conditioning, the diet pills, the exercise programs, the become a more interesting person in 30 days, book lists, all of these things, we have this belief that if I could just take this away, then I would be loved. I'd be lovable. But this practice is about understanding how to love the unlovable, not to get rid of it. You can't get rid of something if that thing that you want to get rid of is this fear of being gotten rid of. We have to love even that. And that's the invitation, to love even that. So, for myself, as I learn to love my neurotic tendencies, because I begin to understand them as sort of the avengers of my mental health. There are all these superheroes that pop up to keep me safe in different situations when I was unable to comprehend and understand the vastness of the trauma or the pain that I was experiencing. So when I was in overwhelm, my subconscious decides to create and craft this way to cope with that overwhelm. And because it worked, I kept it in my toolbox because we like things that work. And because it's in my toolbox, I access it and I use it in the wrong ways. You ever grab a butter knife to unscrew a flathead screw? We're using the wrong tool, but it still does the job, sort of. You know what I'm getting at? It's like that with our neuroses. So once I began to have gratitude for them and love them, they can take a step back. They don't become as useful. So I still have them, but I don't depend upon them because I'm not afraid of them. And I don't allow them to take over when I'm overwhelmed quite as much. And that's through loving them. So in this world of cheaply purchased validation and disposable feelings of belonging, I hope you find your breath today. I hope you find your breath. Because it's right there in the center of who you are. And that's very lovable. Hariom.